Here's how we do now. So first thing I'm going to do, starting with this problem, line this up vertically. So lining it up vertically, my other number 43 3/8 all the way down here. So when I'm adding or subtracting fractions, I always need a common denominator before I add or subtract any of the top numbers. So what does that look like? So my denominators are 3 and 8. So in order to find a common denominator, I'm actually going to use my LCM. LCM of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. List the first 5. And for 8, I got 8. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. So I noticed that I don't have any numbers that match up, so I'm going to keep going. It's kind of getting a little messy, so I'm going to hurry up. 18, 21, 24. Okay, cool. So I also noticed that 24 and 24 match up, so that's going to be my common denominator. 24 on the bottom, 24 on the bottom here. So how do I get from 3 to 24? Multiply by 8. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So what does that look like? So I multiply 3 times 8 to get 24. I'm going to multiply 2 times 8 as well. So that means my new numerator is 16. Same thing down here. To get from 8 to 24, I'm going to multiply by 3. And since I multiply by 3 on the bottom, I'm going to multiply by 3 on the top. That's going to give me 9 on the top. So now my denominators are the same. Now I can add them. So my whole numbers added together, I got 6 plus 3, 9, 2 plus 4, 6, and then adding my fraction together, 9 plus 16, 25 over 24. So I'm almost done. Now I just got to make it pretty. Right now I notice that this is an improper fraction, so I need to change it into a proper fraction. The only way to change it into a proper fraction is to change it into a mixed number. So to change it into a mixed number, I divide my top number by my bottom number. So top number in the house, bottom number outside the house. How many times does 24 go into 25? Once. Take that away, I have a remainder of 1 because I have nothing else to bring down. So what that's telling me is that this number becomes my whole number. So I have 1. This number becomes my new numerator. That's my remainder. My denominator stays the same. I still got that 69 up front. So I can just add those together. Final answer is 70 and 1/24. Sliding on over to the subtraction problem. I'm trying to draw a little dash line down. So I'm going to start this one off the exact same way, lining it up vertically. And 11 and 7 over 8. Put my subtraction sign. So again, I noticed that I can't actually subtract these just yet because the denominators are not the same. So I'm going to use least common multiple to find out a common denominator. Now remember, the common denominator when using least common multiple is whatever common multiple that comes up first. So 18, 24, and then 30. I would write 30, but I can't fit it. 18, 16, 24. Whoa, I see 2 24s. That's the first number they have in common. So my new numerator is 24. It's going to give me 24 on the bottom, 24 on the bottom up here. Cool. So how do I get from 6 to 24? Multiply by 4. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Multiply by 4. That gives me 20. How do I get from 18 to 24? Multiply by 3. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Multiply by 3. That's going to give me, now I have 21 on the top. Now I can subtract. But wait a minute, I can't take 21 from 20. So I'm going to have to borrow here. That's another step, okay? So what does borrowing look like? I'm going to take one from here, one whole. I'm going to give one whole to this one. So what does that look like? I'm going to write that down here. So that one gets one smaller. And then this one is 44 over 24. I had to add an entire 24 over 24 to this one. And that's what gave me 44 over 24. So I added 24 to 20. You got 44. This is still over 11 and 21 24ths. Now I can subtract. Ran out of space, I'm gonna write it over here. So 14 minus 11 is 3, and 44 minus 21 is 23 over 24. That is my final answer. That is a proper fraction. All right, making our way down to this multiplication problem. Give myself a little bit of space to put a dash line. So multiplication is pretty straightforward. The very first thing I'm going to do is change all of my improper not my improper fractions, my mixed numbers and improper fractions. So multiply 3 times 2 plus 1, give me 7 over 2. I know you guys already know how to do that. Then I can multiply. When I multiply, I got top times top, bottom times bottom. So that gives me 28 over 14. And I can then simplify this, dividing both the top and the bottom by the greatest common factor, which is actually 14. I would write out greatest common factor, but you all know how to do greatest common factor. So it's 2 over 1. Another way that I know a lot of you are thinking, like, why didn't he simplify in the beginning? Yeah, you can do that. So you can do that cross simplification that we taught you. And so if I did that, I would cross this 7 out and this 7 out. That would become a 1 and a 1. And then cross this 4 out and this 2 out. That would become a 1 and a 2. So it would be 2 times 1 and then 1 times 1, which would still give you this. It's just simplifying in the beginning rather than at the end like I did. So that's your answer for that one. And then last but not least, the division problem. Again, I'm going to change everything, all my mixed numbers into improper fractions. So 5 times 5 plus 1 more, 26 over 5, divided by 1 times 10 plus 3, 13 over 10. So keep, change, flip, you know what's going on. Got 26 over 5 times, and then I flip this fraction. I get 10 over 13. Follow me, follow me. So this time, I didn't do this over here, but this time I'm actually going to simplify before I multiply, okay? So cross simplify. I noticed that 26 and 13, they both have a common factor of 13. So I'm going to divide this and this by 13. When I divide 26 by 13, I get 2. When I divide 13 by 13, I get 1. Also, 5 and 10 have a common factor. So I know that greatest common factor is 5, so I'm going to divide both of those by 5. When I divide 5 by 5, I get 1. When I divide 10 by 5, I get 2. So now, instead of having 26 over 5 times 10 over 13, now I have 2 over 1 times 2 over 1, which actually gives me 4 over 1, which is just 4. Final answer.